Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
Correct. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get the one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Witness me.
Well, holy hell, fellers.
Yeah. I don't even know what you're referencing, but I'm on board.
The all of it is what I'm referencing. The general everything. Yes, the gestalt, the zeitgeist. Everything good and everything wrong is in perfect balance. And I think
the goddamns big and little.
Boy,
all
really.
the goddams. So we have a fun show today. It's a really fun show today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to take us on a tour of jazz ragtime standards in Japan.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that's really the place you want to go for them.
Sure.
In general.
Yeah.
And I am going to tell you how clarified butter is going to cure all that ails you.
That is just a true.
And then I am going to indulge in a birthday wish and talk about something that's not true, but I wish was.
Well, really?
Do you?
You wish it was true?
Wait, you wish it was true?
Hey, man, it seems like an improvement.
Okay.
So
We'll
we're going
get
to
to
have
it.
a little movie review at the end of the show, and it's a fun one. So,
Yeah.
you know, all the things are still true. Apparently our little, the Facebook group our friend Jim Waldhair has set up is happening and snapping.
And I got to just say, this is, and I mean this in all sincerity, right now social media and the internet is mostly poison. And this Facebook group is the sweetest, the kindest. It's just, it warms my heart, and
Yeah,
I
they
really
even
appreciate
say
it.
nice things about Doug there. So
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a
And
kind
it's also
of
just deeply dishonest, apparently.
yeah, exactly.
So thanks to Joe Waldhair for approaching us about it and administering that, and I hope you guys are having fun over there. I don't go on Facebook because I am a fugitive from justice, which is neither here nor there. So anyway, let's do a show. It's a fun one, and we'll see you on the other side.
Oh, Uncle Doug.
Uncle Dan.
You know, what we have here is a great big world with a whole fuck ton of people just sort of running around on it.
Less and less every day.
Well, and yet more and more also.
Yeah.
But
It's
you're
the
right.
circle of life.
It is the circle of life.
Yes.
And one of the things that our life circles around to quite a bit is people with dumb belief systems. So I think, and this is a phenomenon that seems to happen regardless of where the people end up being.
Yeah, it's a deep and rich mine.
It is
Yeah.
it is apparently an evolutionary imperative in our species to believe idiotic bullshit. And I think Uncle Mark, you have some evidence of that.
Well, you know, today we're going to take a little diversion.
Uh-oh.
You know, we love to talk about, like you're saying, religions and cults and gods living and dead on the show, and that's all well and good. But when we shoved off from shore in this little dinghy nearly 3 years ago, if you guys recall, we did so with your solemn promises that I would, from time to time, be able to discuss my true passion on the show, the songbook of the amazing classic Harlem jazz, Dixieland, and ragtime impresario, Fats Waller.
I love Fats Waller.
I remember
Yeah.
that promise well.
So
Yeah,
now
that's contractual. We have to let you talk about Fats.
there's no way out of this.
Now,
right?
if you
It's
if you had tried to pull up Jelly Roll Morton, we would have kicked you off the show. But
well, you
Waller,
didn't promise Jelly Roll. It was a gentleman's handshake. It's not in writing, like Fats Waller is.
Right.
Now I know we all have our favorites. Uncle Doug, I know your favorite Fats Waller classic is his cheeky, languid 1929 recording of Ain't Misbehavin', especially the version featured in the 1943 film Stormy Weather, where he was accompanied by a gorgeous young Lena Horne, the incredible jazz drummer Zutty Singleton, and the dancing comedy of Bill Bojangles Robinson. It's just delicious. And
It's my second favorite song right after It's Rainin' Men.
Yikes, by the Weather Girls. And Dan, as we've discussed many times, your fave Fats Waller track would be his super rare 1929 recording of Soothin' Syrup Stomp, because you love both the dramatic resonance and majesty of a church organ and Waller's incredibly playful, nay, phenomenally iconoclastic approach to the instrument. And while I love you both...
This is a very personal thing that you're doing right now.
I realize it's... And part of the promise is I would never expose your love of Soothin' Syrup Stomp. But I would have to say his masterwork was his 1939 recording of Your Feet's Too Big, music by Fred Fisher and lyrics by Ada Benson.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard it, treat yourself. He's splendid. Until you dial it up on YouTube, let me give you a taste of the lyrical fun. Say up in Harlem at a table for two, there were four of us, me, your big feet, and you. From your ankles up, I'd say you sure look sweet. From there down, there's just too much feet. Yes, your feet's too big. Don't want you 'cause your feet's too big. Can't use you 'cause your feet's too big. I really hate you because your feet's too big.
You know, I believe, and I genuinely think this is true. I think that the like 10 or 12, or maybe it's fewer than that, but the large a cappella group from Britain, the King's Singers, did a very snooty, hoity-toity version of Your Feet's Too Big.
Did they really? I'll have to
so.
look that up. It's a very fun song.
Yeah.
So that's a fun taste. Fats Waller was a musical and comedic genius, and well worth checking out. But surely, dear listener, you're asking, Uncle Mark, what does he have to do with a recently defunct modern-day cult, and with the decision by General Curtis LeMay and Robert McNamara to firebomb Japan to the ground in World War II?
Well, that was my next question.
I know.
It's a pretty obvious line to draw, really.
It's funny how fast the emails come in, especially before I've even asked for them. But
right?
Well, he doesn't, not really at least, until you come with me on the strange journey from Fats Waller's foot phobia through post-war Japan to a classic, and I mean classic cult scam, where judgment about the size and shape of feet turned into hundreds of millions of coerced dollars. Curious?
What?
Okay, good. So, in the 1940s, a couple crazy kids separated by the Pacific Ocean got into a little dust-up. Imperial Japan was like, all this shit over here is ours, okay? And the new kid, America, was like, hey man, you just shot my fucking eye out, so fucking no. And then it got super awkward for a couple years, resulting in about 1.9 million dead soldiers, sailors, and Marines on all sides, so fucking yikes. So, most Americans think the extent of the apocalyptic destruction the U.S. wreaked on the Japanese mainland were the hideous twin nuclear attacks on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the summer of 1945. While those were horrendous acts of fiery inhumanity, they were just the last two. You see, two good, God-fearing Christian men, General Curtis LeMay and his statistics-obsessed subdemon, Robert McNamara, who would later go on to be one of the chief architects of the Vietnam War, had concocted a plan to bring Japan to its knees before the big booms of August 1945. Knowing most Japanese architecture was comprised of wood and paper, they developed a plan to drop incendiary and phosphorus bombs at night, and in so doing wiped out 67 of Japan's biggest cities completely off the map. It was only after that the U.S. decided to show Joseph Stalin what we had up our sleeve and use Japan as a proving ground, and the age of nuclear insanity began. So, also,
you're welcome, world.
You're welcome, Japan. So don't think I'm excusing Japan's abundant and hideous crimes under the imperial militarists. I'm just not interested in excusing ours either. But today our story does take place in the lovely and thankfully rebuilt Japan. So despite being utterly ruined, as I said, Japan rebuilt and rebuilt quickly, and by the early 1980s was an absolute titan in the global economy. They became a colossus of an export economy, selling cars and electronics to a world hungry for both. And with that came a cradle-to-grave social and employment system that, while intense and dehumanizing, was a sort of stability that Japanese society became very accustomed to. Right. Then came the huge financial shocks of the 1990s and the shattering of the notion of lifelong employment and the fraying of the tightly wound Japanese social framework. So I read several sociologists and journalists that weighed in on the reason Japan is both uniquely susceptible to a certain kind of cult, like Shinrikyo that we covered in episode 20, and the Happy Science cult, which we have yet to cover, but that's an entirely different loony bin. But it seems the historical shock of utter defeat and devastation in World War II, and then the social and financial dislocation of the 90s have left both the people and the government ill-equipped to deal with the radicalism of doomsday nihilists like Aum Shinrikyo or the MLM-style scamminess of today's subject. Japanese cults tend to follow a highly rigid and hierarchical structure like their workaholic business culture, standing in as a replacement of that familiar but broken system for certain vulnerable Japanese, for whom that system is no longer fully intact. So that's also not to say the Japanese people are the most susceptible to cults. Who, boy, not even close. First among nations of people willing to give over their whole lives and all their monies to a charismatic ding-dong is the United States of dumbasses.
We're number one.
That's
We're
right,
number
boys.
one.
USA. Coming in very distant seconds are several post-colonial African societies. Japan is probably like in 7th or 8th place. And what new and exciting cult were our Japanese friends graced with in that dreamlike year of 1987?
Hello Kitty.
Oh, fuck. That's the whole thing. No.
Oh, shit.
It was, of course, Ho No Hana Sanpogyo.
Bless you.
That's not Japanese for Hello Kitty?
Very, very beautiful name, which translates to the way of the flower / the three teachings cult, but became better known by a name that the jazz maestro Fats Waller would have had a good chuckle at, the foot reading cult.
Ah.
Yeah. So the foot reading cult was founded, as I said, in the year of our Lord 1987 by one Hogun Fukunaga, who would prefer you call him by what his friends do, His Holiness, or the voice of heaven if you're nasty. His Holiness Hogun Fukunaga founded his little foot fetish MLM after a vaguely described spiritual experience. Now, see if you can spot any red flags here, fellas. In which it was revealed to him that he was the final reincarnation of both Jesus H. Christ and the Buddha.
Nice.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, so if you have your cult bingo cards out, you will shortly have a bingo. And pro tip to anybody out there, whenever you're looking to join a fun new social group or that sort of thing, before you sign the billion-year contract and don the goatskin leggings, ask the leader if they think they might be Jesus. Just buyer beware. You know what I mean?
Right. And to be clear, if they say yes, that's a bad thing.
Yes.
That's typically a bad thing.
Exactly.
So whoops, there we go. His Holiness Fukunaga began telling people he could tell everything about them by reading their feet. Like palm reading, but for people who find hands more gross than feet, a.k.a. crazy people. And what could His Holiness, Jesus Buddha, tell by looking at your flippers? Why, everything. One poor fellow was just looking for treatment for his high blood pressure and was told his little toe being too little meant that only 30% of the energies of heaven were flowing through his body, and that only doing exactly what Mr. Voice of Heaven Fukunaga said would prevent the calamities soon to befall him. The man was driven to an ATM where he took out the equivalent of $1,800 for the foot exam.
Wow.
And was driven back to His Holiness's compound where he would, over a fairly short period of time, be bled of over $150,000 and have ensnared most of his family in the scheme.
Yeah.
Police later found a secret manual and interrogated the guru's staff and discovered that Fukunaga had told them to lie to terrify people into joining, saying things like, your life will be taken if you don't act now, and you will go bankrupt in 2 months' time unless you join. Although that last one would ironically turn out to be true, just not how they thought. The victim in question in this story was a well-to-do, not idiot of a guy called Tsuneo Kikuchi, who was a successful restaurant owner. What really convinced him to throw in with this obvious fraud was a bit of clever set decoration on the part of His Holiness Fukunaga. By this time, already swimming in fraudulent cash, Fukunaga bought his way into the presence of several, quote, highly esteemed people, like Mother Teresa, a fucking demon we discussed in episode 64, the Dalai Lama, kind of a fraud himself, who we discussed in episode 30, Bill Clinton, Pope John Paul II, and Mikhail Gorbachev. These people likely knew little about Fukunaga other than he had given some dough to some cause they supported, but he knew that prominently displaying photographs of shaking hands of such prominent people would impress the gullible and even the not-so-gullible, like poor Mr. Kikuchi, who was impressed indeed. So money well spent on the office decor, His Holiness Fukunaga, King of the Jews. So in addition to $900 to $2,000 for the initial foot reading, how did Jesus H. Fukunaga ultimately amass what police and prosecutors discovered to be well over $570 million?
Oh, my
God. Not bad.
Crazy
Jeez.
money, right?
That's Mormon church money.
Yeah, that's like 0.1% of Mormon church money. Well,
Right.
like in the case of Tsuneo Kikuchi, people were whisked from their first phony exam to compounds where they dropped everything to chant and write Buddhist mantras for days at a time, while being kept awake for 36 to 48 hours at a stretch, while repeating the same mantra thousands of times, that being, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm healthy.
I mean, it's useful.
Yeah, believe it and it will become.
You do that enough, and guaranteed you'll be neither.
Right.
So this is very similar to the repetitive hypnotic verbal decontextualization technique that is practiced by Scientology auditors,
Right.
to break people down. Now, we know from the testimonies of survivors of our own deeply shameful torture tactics in the so-called War on Terror, nothing breaks a person's will down like sleep deprivation. So after 48 hours of forced wakeful chanting repetition, people hallucinate. They lose track of their bodies and physical reality, and they will do anything to close their eyes for just a few seconds. On top of this torture technique, they were constantly being told disease, catastrophe, and death were just barely being kept at bay by giving 1,000% effort to this new, quote, health regimen. And how could one eventually earn sleep? Most times it was by agreeing to immediately pay $22,000 for another multi-day seminar of chanting and writing mantras thousands of times, but with a little more sleep thrown in. If initiates refused to pay for it, they had to start their 48-hour grind all over again.
My God.
Until eventually they did agree.
I like it. It's a good scam.
I love how upfront it is about it. Just, like sign over your money and you can get some shut-eye.
Right.
Yeah, that's like in the first day, right? The first day you join, you're just like all the way in.
Yeah, it's smart because if they get you like that, if you stick around after that day, they know they've got you.
Yeah.
You are got.
If you haven't jumped out a window by then.
Yeah.
And what else could earn you sleep? Signing a paper that you swore to recruit as many other people as possible within the next 72 hours.
Oh, my God.
TikTok, motherfuckers. So at this point, most people were exhausted and delirious. They were so exhausted and delirious, the only people they could even name were their own partners and even children who were signed up at the same cost and had to endure the same dehumanization. Children as young as 6 were dragged into this nightmare pyramid scheme. And that's all it really was, a sleep-deprived foot fortune teller MLM. The fact that it hasn't taken off like a rocket in Utah is nothing short of a miracle.
As of this
Give
recording.
it time.
Yeah, 20 minutes from now. Like so many others, Kikuchi was then ordered to enroll in further counseling in the form of some kind of private school for $7,000 a class. And even after he had dragged his entire family into it, the demand for new recruits never ceased. Cultists would scream and harangue the tattered initiates until they coughed up some new name, and any perceived lack of enthusiasm was met with menial punishment, like scrubbing toilets and then starting the sleep deprivation torture again.
Oh, man.
And while we're talking cults, we obviously need to know how many points His Holiness Fukunaga and the Ho No Hana Sanpogyo cult put on the cult body count board. And I got to say, they're a little bit of a letdown, guys.
Oh.
Yeah. Fukugama was investigated for manslaughter in the deaths of 4 initiates who seemed to have succumbed to exhaustion and dehydration in some kind of grueling purification exercise on Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
But it seems like nothing came of that. So if you had them in your March Madness bracket, that's a tough break. So the last news source I was able to check said His Holiness, the Voice of Heaven, Buddha Jesus, Foot Creep, is in jail for fraud and practicing medicine without a license and enduring the slow grind of more than 1,100 civil suits brought by former followers. His hilarious dodge when questioned by the police was that God was no longer speaking through him and he can't recall what happened because it was God acting, not him.
Yeah.
This guy's the whole package.
What are you going to do?
So I just hope the stress of it all isn't keeping him up for more than 48 hours at a time. So let us end this tale of shambolic scam and sham in the same way it began, with a reading from the lyrics of Fats Waller's 1939 classic, Your Feet's Too Big. Oh, your feet's too big. Don't want you 'cause your feet's too big. Mad at you 'cause your feet's too big. I hate you 'cause your feet's too big. Oh, your pedalic extremities are colossal. They make you look just like a fossil. You got me walking, talking, and squawking 'cause your feet's too big. Yeah. So,
Amen.
whatever the fuck is up with Japan and cults, we're against it. Your feet don't tell you anything about your future any more than your palms do, and I will tell you that for free.
Boy, I would like to show this guy my feet after 5 months of quarantine and see what he says about me.
You need to go to an actual doctor. I can't help you. There's no amount of money that can fix that shit. So there you go. Enjoy Ho No Hana Sanpogyo.
Hey, I you know what? A candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. I love the fact that this was like, give me your money as fast as you can.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's pretty funny. The Kikuchi said that they said there was going to be all this counseling and health therapy, and he's like, other than the chanting and the staying up, there was never anything. It was just names. Give us names. Give us names. Write a check. Give us your credit card. It was just like nakedly scammy.
He flew too close to the rising sun.
And they also pulled this caper where when he visited John Paul II, he took 2 rings with him. And he asked the Pope to put one of the rings on, and the Pope was like, okay. And then they got a picture with the rings on, and then he told the story that the Pope had been saving this ring to give to him.
Right. Oh,
Right.
good one.
Yeah. So
I like that.
Yes, the Pope, it's saying the Pope agreed that he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. So, yeah,
Nice.
the guy's magnificent. He's a magnificent scumbag.
Well, there
that's
you
awesome.
go. I am going to pay people to let me get their picture with them.
Yeah, smart move.
Patreon goal, I will send you pictures of my feet if you send us money.
How about we don't send pictures of your feet
right.
if they send us money?
Exactly. I'm going to send
Yeah.
everyone pictures of my feet unless I get money right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's-
All right.
Well,
Let's do it.
walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Uncle Mark,
Yes.
I think that perhaps one of the only adjectives that could not be applied to me right now is healthy.
Oh, there's others. There's others, but that would be in the top 700.
Yeah, that's on the list.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for ways to improve what is the dying of the flesh. And I think
To
Uncle Dan
forestall the off-shuffling of this mortal coil.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm hanging on to the top of the coil with all my strength.
Good for you.
But Uncle Dan, you might have something that could possibly help me.
I don't. But
never
let's
mind.
talk about it anyway.
Sure.
The ancients, keepers of the mystical knowledge and wisdom the rest of us can only really dream of. And of course, when I say dream of it, I mean just that, because pretty much every time we make any attempt to test or use the magical practices of bygone times, we find that they were all just as fantastically fictional as that 6-legged giant who tried to ask me for directions to the Mud Palace last night. Now,
Did you give them to him?
I gave him bad directions.
Oh, well, you're going to
He
see
was
him again.
he was not happy. He
Yeah.
was not happy. Now look, I don't want to be disingenuous here. Just because a concept is old doesn't mean it won't work. The ancient world has much to offer us if we pay attention. It's like when your mom encouraged you to go visit Grandpa, and you said you didn't want to because he's weird and he smells funny, but she insisted that the elderly have a lot to teach us, and he had wisdom that you could benefit from. So you rode your little bike down to the nursing home, and you made your way past the puddle of urine in the hall to room 475, where you told your grandma that a kid at school had been bullying you, and he went on a 75-minute-long rant about how all the girls really want it, and you just have to get them drunk and don't take no for an answer. That's how I met your beloved grandmother. And also, no matter what happens, and no matter what those hippies down at the college try to tell you, you can't trust the darkies or the Jews.
I was going to say, and it's the first time you ever heard the N-word used.
That's right.
Ancient wisdom.
Yep. What I'm saying here is, and I think we can all agree, that older equals wiser.
Yeah,
So-
automatically.
Magically. So this is especially true of medical practices. Modern, quote, Western medicine has become a sad, unfeeling state of affairs. It's a sterile clinical practice where they stuff chemicals in your mouth and run all sorts of laboratory tests on you and don't seem to care at all about playing calming sitar or pan flute music or filling the air with a shocking, bordering on nauseating amount of soothing lavender oil.
Yeah, it's and Western medicine with its evil side effects of nearly doubling the human lifespan. It's terrible.
Right, and
Yeah.
keeping, infants alive and all
Yeah.
that sort of nonsense. It's like they've given up completely on treating the whole person and are only there to treat the specific condition that you went in there to see them about. Now, look, you may use all kinds of fancy science talk to try and trick me into your Western medicine madness. You might tell me, for instance, that the pill you're trying to push on me has been proven in multiple rigorous laboratory trials to be, effective with minimal side effects. That is, or that it's the only treatment known to science to work for my specific condition. But I'm here to tell you, your science is fine for some things. But it's just one way of looking at the world, man. There are other practices that have been around for millennia, used by literally billions of people around the world. Do you mean to tell me that billions of people are wrong just because every time their practices are studied, they're found to be no more effective than placebo? What about the lavender? Huh?
Of course
you
not.
unfeeling bastard.
Open your eyes, man.
Right?
Open your third eye, dude.
Right? Your chakras are seriously out of whack. Here's the thing. It's not like the ancients were completely up in the night. They had thousands of years to hone and refine their practices. Of course they were going to get some things right. Mind you, thousands of years of refinement don't count for a lot when there's no decent method in place to guide the process other than just, I call myself a healer and I said so. But there's got to be some ancient wisdom out there that really works, right? I mean, go back to episode 57 where Uncle Mark told us all about the ancient practice of drilling a hole in your head.
Yeah.
They still do that.
Yeah,
Not for the reasons they did it back then, but
We
you
found
know.
tons of skulls with holes in them, and they're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
So, still. Today, I'm going to discuss an ancient practice that, never fear, leaves your skull entirely intact. Though, and this baffles scientists to this day, if you think about it too much, your brain could still fall out of your head. Today, I want to talk about Ayurveda. Now, coming to us from the mystical Indian subcontinent, some say that the earliest forms of Ayurveda date back to 6000 BCE, going all the way back to the Indus Valley civilization. Mind you, none of it was written down until the Vedic period thousands of years after that, so that's a lot of guesswork as to how much of what we have now is even related to what was passed through the oral traditions way back then. The Vedas were initially composed somewhere between 1500 and 1200 BCE, so still no slouch in terms of old. They were religious texts that have been passed down through the ages, and like the Christian Holy Bible, we haven't been able to stop people from believing it all. It's very disappointing. It's estimated that as many as 80% of Indians use Ayurveda, either as their exclusive medical treatment model or as a fun little side order on modern medicine.
God, and it bears mentioning, right? 80% of India is a billion people, right?
Yeah, it's close to that. It's insane. It's almost as common in other countries in the subcontinent, like Nepal and Sri Lanka. The Indian government even has an entire governing body, part of the Ministry of Health and Welfare, called the Department of Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha Medicine, and Homeopathy. So,
Are they hiring?
what's right? They're doing real good over there. So.
Essentially the equivalent to the Department of Silly Walks.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Or our current Department of Education.
or any
of our
department
Yeah, exactly.
in the federal government of the United States of America. Of course, in the 1960s and 70s, if you approached a white person with anything that had the words ancient, Asian, and natural attached to it, They would run screaming to the nearest bank, withdraw all their savings, and with a lunatic look in their beady little eyes, they would savagely chase you through the streets, throwing money at you. This led to a few fun events in our wild, wild country, but one of those things was the introduction of this amazing holistic healing method, along with yoga. This goes hand in hand with yogic practice. So, a lot of times you'll get, if you go to yoga class enough times and, then you complain to your yoga teacher about how your sciatica is acting up, she will recommend an Ayurvedic practitioner for you. And the word I used before, holistic, is key to understanding part of the appeal of Ayurveda. You see, Ayurveda understands that humans aren't just a collection of discrete organs doing separate jobs. No, everything's connected, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure modern medicine knows that too.
Yeah.
But they don't treat the whole self when you go in for a colonoscopy. They just, stick a camera up your bum with no thought whatsoever about what that will do to your mental existence or your personality. They don't even send you home with any herbs, for Krishna's sake. How am I supposed to rebalance my doshas?
I'm just having a moment because when I got my colonoscopy, it was an Indian doctor, so my mind is just blowing up right now.
I wanted to do that to you.
True story. And when I woke up in the middle of the procedure, and there had been the Olympics were on television in the lobby, and so I woke up in the middle of the procedure, and I'm looking at the television screen in front of me that is showing the up my butt, and it's just this pink tube. And I remember saying this, even though I was drugged like fuck. I remember saying, "Which event is this?" And he said, "You have a beautiful colon. Go back to sleep." And I went, "Okay." I thought it was like bobsled.
I was going to say, the fact that he didn't say the luge is a huge missed opportunity.
Right.
Well, it was the
Olympic
Summer
water
Olympics,
slide.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right.
The circle of life.
Indeed. Right up your circle.
Yes.
So an Ayurvedic practitioner is going to be very interested in how everything relates to everything else. The nadi bone's connected to the mutra bone's connected to the mala bone. Everybody, the mala bone's connected to the jiva bone. Now hear the words of the guru. So, actually, those aren't really bones. Those are 4 of the 8 parts of you that Ayurvedic practitioners will check to find out what's really wrong and how to fix it. Nadi, for instance, is your pulse. I don't know why they need to use the Sanskrit word for it, but sure does sound fancy to all the sage-smelling white
mystical.
women out there.
Yeah.
They eat that Sanskrit up with a spoon. So, as well as your pulse, your local Ayurvedist will check your shabda, which is your speech, your sparsha, your touch, your druk, which is vision, akruti, which is appearance, and your mutra and mala, which are your pee and poop.
Okay.
From a careful and very invasive examination of everything gross and smelly about you, the practitioner can then diagnose what's going on with your disgusting self and
That sounds
prescribe.
very thorough. Very thorough.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And prescribe what needs to be done to fix it. And usually what's going on is an imbalance of the doshas.
I'm assuming that there's not one of these doctors in an emergency room. Right?
If there is, you need to leave and go find yourself a different emergency room.
Exactly.
So I've got to sit there with a nail in my head while he sifts through my poo and pee to find out what's wrong with me.
No, he'll probably look at your tongue. So the doshas are basically the Indian version of the 4 humors of ancient Greek and Roman medicine.
Right.
They are Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. Oh, wait. They're like the 4 humors, but there are only 3. Sorry. They are composed of the 4 classical
with the exchange
elements.
rate from Greece to India, you take a bath, so it's
and it is hard to exchange because part of this is actually imperial and part of it's in metric, so it's always tricky to do that.
Right.
For instance, they are composed. Those 3 doshas are composed of what we would say is the 4 classical elements of earth, air, fire, and water. But they also have ether, so That's 5. We get, it's hard to do it with the exchange rates. Anyway, the 5 elements are divided into the 3 doshas, so that you have Pitta, which is fire and water, Kapha, which is earth and water, and Vata, which is air and ether or space.
Wait,
and
this is that M. Night Shyamalan movie, isn't it?
That's right. That's
With
right.
the little bald kid? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great film.
Yeah. There's also the 4th one, which is called Cava, and that is Spanish champagne, which is actually what I have to use to get through all of these stupid woo segments. Now, if you wanted to get the full benefits of Ayurveda, you would go to a practitioner and pay them, of course, a sum of money. A local website shows an initial consultation for $95. And they will spend 90 minutes asking you a whole lot of questions about yourself. That's personality questions, lifestyle questions, diet questions. They want to know everything about you. They will probably weigh you. They will definitely look at your tongue, maybe smell you, listen to your breathing. I mean, Jesus, buy a guy a drink first.
Right.
Oh, you actually do have a drink for me? Does it have alcohol? Oh, turmeric and cumin. Oh, okay.
Yum.
Yeah. From there, they will determine what your dominant dosha is. If, for instance, you are tall and slim with an oval face, dry skin, thin hair, small joints, long fingers, and prominent bones, with a quick and flexible mind, abundance of creativity, imaginative, joyful, and happy, talk a lot, are excited, alert, and loving, but you're insecure, obsessive, compulsive, and or bipolar, you're obviously a Vata type. Whereas,
Of course.
if you're full-bodied with a round face, round nose, big round eyes, luscious hair, soft ivory skin, larger joints, and stocky hands, with a sweet, loving, happy, caring, nurturing, faithful, grounded, patient demeanor, but you sometimes experience congestion, obesity, laziness, swelling, weak digestion, hoarding, shyness,
Hoarding.
you're clearly a kapha, right? I mean, obviously.
It's
really,
just maths.
When you think about it, you're like, oh, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Then, of course, there are the pittas, who are of medium build with sharp nose and chin, penetrating eyes, pink skin, freckles, moles, exhibiting early gray or balding, who are intelligent and logical with a good memory, good speaking ability, natural leaders, clean, neat, charismatic, and brainy, but are also angry, critical, competitive, meticulous, dominating, controlling, aggressive workaholics.
You called?
So, obviously, everybody falls into one of these 3 categories. Or I guess maybe you're a combo kid showing signs of 2 or even all 3 of the types. Jesus, save some characteristics for the rest of us. Anyway, the key to health and well-being is to keep the doshas balanced. Balance is everything. So, if you're a pitta, let's say, that means that you have a lot of fire in you, which is why you're such an overworking, angry dick all the time. Now, you have to remember that, unlike homeopathy, where like cures like, in Ayurveda, like increases like, which makes a lot more sense when you think about it. The idea here is that your dosha has certain qualities in abundance, so you don't want to add to those qualities, you want to balance them out. So, since Pitta is fire and has the attributes of, and I don't know why, but oily, sharp, whatever that means, hot, light, mobile, and liquid, you want to counter those.
That
Obviously.
sounds like post-tandoori for me.
Right, yes, exactly.
I love Indian food. It does not love me. I'm just going to leave it at that.
There you go. Maybe you're a pitta. No, you're something else. Anyway,
I'm a plapa.
So, right, exactly. So, for instance, what you could do to counter those things is favor cool but not ice cold beverages over hot ones, and protect yourself from noonday sun, and avoid things like chili peppers, vinegar, alcohol, tobacco, caffeinated beverages, and chocolate. Joy.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Right. Maybe before bed, have some milk previously boiled with a little ghee, saffron, cardamom, and sugar, once cooled to a comfortable temperature.
That sounds
You see?
nice. That sounds nice.
It's easy and fun to balance your dosha.
Yeah.
By the way, vegans will not like Ayurveda. The use of ghee alone, which is just like clarified butter, is staggering. They think ghee is literally the magic elixir of the gods. They use it by the gallon.
So, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but, you wake up in the middle of the night with a very dry mouth.
Ghee!
I don't think the cure for that is boiled milk with cumin
and butter
to wash that down.
Wrong. Just look, have you studied Ayurveda? It's 5,000 years old. You just do what you're told.
Doug,
Okay.
are you hoarding again?
How round are your eyes?
I'm liquid, immobile, and hoarding. What am I?
Yeah, exactly. How pink is your skin? All right.
You've seen me.
Yeah, I know. All the way.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't as easy as just figuring out what your dosha type is and then reading a website about how to balance it. If it were, you might be tempted not to pay a professional Ayurvedic practitioner hundreds of your dollars. So, no. You need to have a personalized regime of treatments prescribed for you and updated regularly to ensure good balance and to ensure that your practitioner can continue to afford her boat. But Uncle Dan, I hear you say, this can't just be nonsense, right? We said it before, literally 1 billion people buy into this stuff. And it's so ancient. And modern medicine is sometimes wrong, and many other common logical fallacies. Well, I'm sorry to say that while there have been some scientific studies done to test the efficacy of Ayurvedic treatment, none of them have really shown any reliable positive results, which is crazy considering how dead-on accurate this medical equivalent to a horoscope is, as long as you don't ask too many questions. And also, don't count it when it doesn't work. So that was your fault. You did it wrong. Now we have to start all over again.
Yeah, Ayurveda cannot fail. It can only be failed.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the woo works, actually.
Totally.
All of the woo is basically operates on the principle of what'd you do?
Exactly.
And that's that. That's it. It's ancient and boy, man. You got, if you know a suburban housewife who has been going to yoga for more than 3 years, you know someone who's done some oil pulling.
Yeah, it's so there's a couple things. One is unlike Ayurveda, yoga has a lot of excellent upside.
Yeah.
Like it's people get amazing physiological health results out of practicing yoga. It's great for balance and strength and
it's meditative.
Yeah,
it's got a mindfulness quality to it.
Yeah, and it is also ancient, and that's awesome. So
yeah.
That's cool that something from the ancient world has maintained as a provably healthful thing, but other things have not. Right, and this is kind of one of them. I mean, there may be a couple things in Ayurveda that are healthful, but deciding if you're oily or mobile and how that relates to
or pointy,
your pointy,
yeah,
blunt.
But
how that relates to your chakras, I don't know. So.
The temptation to believe in ancient wisdom is so great, and of course this doesn't apply to automobile manufacturing or air travel. But I worked with this kid, a nice guy, but he was one of those that always just kind of fell for that ancient thing. And the molecule that was isolated and is now in aspirin was originally found in a tree bark. We all know this, right?
Yeah,
the willow tree, sure.
Yes, and he was always like, "Oh, you shouldn't take aspirin. What you should do is chew this bark." Like, oh my God, dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
yeah. It's very funny. Anytime you want to, the appeal to antiquity appeals to you, just slam your head in the door because it's going to be just as useful. The thing is,
and you'll save money.
And the thing, the caveat that I always like to give when I'm talking about a woo is because people always talk about modern medicine and they call it Western medicine. And how
derisively, typically,
right, and how it gets things wrong all the time, and the point here isn't that that's not true because it is true, but the point here is they actually are required to track when they get things wrong and course correct,
right,
and none of these woo things have that. That's not a built-in feature of Ayurveda,
right?
Like you don't have to track if it works or not. all you have to track, all a practitioner is going to track is successes. So, and here's the thing. I believe that an Ayurvedic practitioner could probably give me a series of foods that could cure me of a little bit of mild constipation. They probably got that figured out. But if you've got cancer or something, please go to a real doctor.
Listen, there is not a human being alive that could not give me a better diet regimen than my current one. So, fine, Ayurveda.
There's just some common sense. It's like, oh, you drink too much. You drink too much coffee. You're eating too much, right? It's like,
right.
Doug,
I'm going to drive over with a gallon of ghee for you.
Gallon of ghee and a defibrillator, please. But an ancient one.
Well, I've got to stick a neti pot up into my sinuses, so
yes, indeed.
We should probably move on.
Gentlemen,
hello.
Ho.
It's if you get enough clarified butter going, people will start to give you money. If there's one thing we've learned, that's a fact. So
it's true.
We've clearly been down in our ghee because a whole bunch of folks have decided that they are going to chip in and give unto us.
Oh.
So we've got some people to thank, and I will like doing that. So thank you so much to Jordan, to Melanie number 1, and to Melanie number 2, and you two know which ones you are. And I am going to give a saint. I'll start to anyway, you get a saint, and your saint is Saint Bob of Lower Manhattan, and Saint Bob is the patron saint of sort of unnecessary and badly achieved plastic surgery, of waterfowl that eat vermin, and the patron saint of thin and cardboardy pizza.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. And you know what else?
Whoa.
That is the 100th saint.
Holy
Whoa!
cow.
On this show. So
Saint Bob?
Yes, so congratulations to Revan.
Revan or Revan, or I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, so Revan, you got to send me your address and we're going to send you a poster. Because
Whoa!
you hit the magic 100 and boy, do we all feel it.
That's amazing.
You random son of a bitch.
Yes, indeed. And random it is.
Yes.
And Doug, I'm going to call on... Nope, Uncle Mark. I'm going with Uncle Mark. I'm going to call on you, Uncle Mark, to give a saint also to... wait, it's got to pull up here. Definitely not a time traveler.
Definitely not a time traveler. Sure, Bub.
Okay,
right. Let me...
we're going to believe that.
Let me throw the bones. Let's see. It's definitely not a time traveler. Your saint... and I'm not happy about this either, but it's what the bones say, is Saint Rhubarbara of Hidden Valley. And Saint Rhubarbara is the patron saint of Rocktober, the Dinah Shore Pro-Am Golf Classic, and, of course, most famously, freelance soccer hooligans. So... That's a well-rounded saint. That's like a balanced breakfast of a saint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of covers all the bases. So congratulations on that.
Way to go. Saint 101.
Yeah. 101 Saints. It's my favorite Disney classic.
Yes. It's great. And now we're going to make a coat out of them.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
All right. Well, kids, if you would like to be a part of this exciting venture by giving us some money... You can do that. You just go to howtoheretic.com. You click on the thing that says, support us or whatever it says, and you go to the Patreon page. You decide how much you want to give per episode. It's no biggie one way or t'other, except that more money is always better. And then you have our eternal gratitude.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, spangle us with stars on any service where you may do such a thing. And make us the banner.
Can you see?
Make us the banner you salute or hug in a very distressing and kind of inappropriately sexual way. That's up to you. It flags a symbol. You do your thing. but it's got to
Right.
have stars, and that's where you come in. So do it.
So do it, and let's move on.
Yeah. Uncle Dan,
Hey!
you know,
Ho!
we don't need another hero.
Hey!
We don't need to
sorry.
know the way home. I think Uncle Doug's got something very special on deck for us today.
Is that something very special? The fact that when Uncle Doug isn't allowed out of his house for too long, all he knows is movie references?
I think we're all consuming a lot of media these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the fact you think before the quarantine I was some kind of
Social butterfly.
some kind of
actually
more
did stuff.
domesticated creature.
Right.
Well, dear uncles, Friday was my birthday. And before you or any listeners...
Wait a minute. I didn't even know that.
I don't make a big deal of it, and here's
Well,
why.
I want to celebrate it.
No.
I celebrate you right now.
Before you or any listeners wish me a happy birthday, if you listened to my segment or my heaven last week, sorry again, Michael Eric, you'll know that the pressures of COVID-19 and widespread racial injustice in Donald Trump's America are taking their toll on old Uncle Doug. So celebrating a mid-40s birthday in that environment was never really going to lift my spirits. A friend of mine texted me birthday wishes and asked me what I was going to do, to which the only answer is nothing. Even if I wanted to celebrate the passing of one more mile marker on the road to oblivion, we can't have parties, can't go out for a drink, can't get a group together to go to dinner. So I guess I'll just stare out the window as another sun sets and blow out my single candle on my gas station brownie. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
So
You went into a gas station? Man, living
no, I've
dangerously.
had it for like 4 months. It's still soft. So, given that it's my birthday week, and, it's up to me anyway, today I want to cash in a personal indulgence and talk about something that's a bit of a stretch for this show. I want to talk about a made-up religion.
Yeah, because all the other ones are real.
Exactly. It has long been the editorial position of this podcast, and indeed every atheist in history, that all religions are made up. Some, however, are more made up than others. Most, of course, are invented to part fools from their money and, if possible, virgins from their parents. But some hokey religions and ancient weapons are made up to do no such thing. We have talked on the show about various religions made up for no other reason than to tell a story, and in some cases point out the futility of religious belief itself. We've talked about Jediism, the Klingon religion, and Crom, the religion of Conan the Barbarian, for example. And longtime listeners will no doubt remember that I will sneak in a Dune reference any chance I get. So today, for my birthday, I want to depart from an actual world gone mad to talk about a fictional world gone mad. Today I want to talk about the religions of and the religious themes of Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
All right.
For those of you who have not seen Fury Road, or indeed any of the Mad Max movies, you are both missing out on some of the most iconic, beautiful, culturally relevant cinema in history, and also fortunate enough to have missed out on some of the most ridiculous, over-the-top, and schlocky filmmaking ever. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Luckily, the four movies have only a tangential relationship to each other and can therefore be seen independently. You don't have to have seen Mad Max to watch Road Warrior. You don't have to have seen Road Warrior to watch Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And, of course, you don't have to have seen any of them to watch Mad Max Fury Road. It doesn't hurt to watch them in order, and if you're looking for a very weird weekend, go for it. But it's not necessary.
Yeah, as the world is
and
approaching...
I am looking for a very weird weekend. So
As the world is approaching those strange realities, I don't know that a marathon is really what you want to do right now.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's one school of thought that just says you're training.
Yeah. Here's the right shoulder pads. Here's the right feather
Right.
boa.
Exactly.
You're going to need a mohawk.
For people, and I'm guessing mostly boys of a certain age, our concept of a post-apocalyptic world is pretty much defined by George Miller's vision of roided-out, mohawked marauders in nitro-blasting funny cars fighting in the desert for the last drop of gasoline.
Yes.
It's as imprinted on my brain as Frozen is for anyone under 14.
Right.
Each movie has its iconic moments, no more incredible than the final moment in Thunderdome, which I know Uncle Mark is a huge fan of.
Oh, my God. First of all, if you haven't seen Beyond Thunderdome is a very underappreciated movie. It's kind of amazing. And not solely because Tina Turner is in a chainmail dress driving a rocket engine across the desert. But it's this. So it ends in this huge chase where the goons from Bartertown are chasing down Max, and cars are classic flipping, exploding. Everything's coming to pieces. He's wiping out all of her guys. And his car, Max's thing, finally crashes, and he goes tumbling across the desert, lays laying there in the sand. And for some reason, she walks up to him. This guy who's just like ruined everything, ruined the entire civilization she's built, right? She walks up to him and looks down at him, and she could just totally smoke him right there, right? And she looks down at him and goes, "We make quite a pair, don't we, Raggedy Man?" And walks away. And then the end credits. That's the end of the movie. It is the most bizarre bananas movie ending ever.
I swear they got to the last day of shooting and the sun was setting, and they're like, just wing it. We got
There was no cocaine left, and they're like, we got to get out of here.
That's right.
So I don't know if you're going to talk about this, Doug, but there is a sub-religion in Thunderdome. And I don't know if that's part of your segment.
No, I'm sticking with Fury Road. I wanted to kind of stay.
Thunderdome has that amazing beginning sequence where the children who survived that plane crash live in that gulch, and they've built this. And there's no adults survived the crash, and they've built this religion around Captain Walker and Mrs. Walker.
It's almost a cargo cult.
Yeah, from like the safety slideshow at the beginning of the. It's really an amazing little bit. So anyway, sorry.
No, that's okay.
But we got to get to chrome spray paint related.
Yeah, to
that's
Valhalla.
right. Today we're going to stick with Fury Road.
Yeah.
Just because there's some meat to cut off the bone here. And as both your uncles know, I love this movie. I love it for many reasons, but mostly because it is awesome. There is basically no story.
That's a good reason to love a movie, I think.
There's basically no story. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this, there was no screenplay. The entire the entire movie was conceptualized only in storyboards because Miller and the other filmmakers thought a script might actually hinder the storytelling.
Really?
Yeah, no script.
He'd been working on that for 30 years?
Yeah, and if you watch some of the behind the scenes, you'll see in the offices when they're planning the movie, it's like 8 foot by 4 foot boards everywhere, covered in storyboards. It's the craziest thing. So
I've worked on movies.
It's an image heavy film.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's very conceptual and image heavy. I've worked on films where I wish there wasn't a script. But,
it's basically a single fiery car chase, yet it still somehow manages to tell a story and even manages to effectively build a surprisingly complete world, develop characters, and grapple with some pretty heavy themes. The whole movie is pretty much a case study in how to show, not tell.
Right.
There is exposition, but it's so integrated into the plot that you almost don't realize that it's happening. Rather than stopping the action to describe why it's happening, the exposition is folded into the action. That seems obvious enough, but think about the last movie you watched and how they handled exposition. Probably there was a fish out of water character as a stand-in for the audience that had to have the plot described to them as it progressed. There's a tiny wee bit of that with Max himself, but it's more of to tease out the specific character's motivations, not the world building going on around them. Everyone, including Max, is from that world, and it's through its total immersion in that world that we come to know and understand it. For about a year after I saw the film, every time I would pass a tanker truck on the freeway, I would text a picture of it to Mark and Jesse with lines from the movie.
It's true, and I knew he was going to die Mad Max style under truck tires if he didn't start doing that.
And would that have been the wrong move? All things considered. Others may quibble, and they would, of course, be wrong, but this is a near-perfect movie. No part of it could be removed or changed without lessening its momentum. Many have called it a feminist movie, given that most of the main characters are women fighting for their freedom from physical bondage and sexual slavery. In fact, George Miller asked Eve Ensler, who was the author of the Vagina Monologues, to come and consult with the women in the film about the effects of...
She went to Namibia, right?
She went to Namibia, met with all the women to kind of talk through the effects of sexual violence to give their portrayal more oomph and reality.
It's the very rare female-driven action/sci-fi movie.
Truly.
Yeah.
And granted, every woman in the film is a literal model, but that actually makes sense in the plot, which we'll talk about. And it bears mentioning that Miller was 70 at the time of filming.
Yeah.
And his most recent films were, and this is true, Happy Feet 1 and 2 and Babe, Pig in the City.
He's got
Did
range.
not know that.
Yeah.
He's got range.
But by the way, have either of you seen Babe, Pig in the City?
No.
You know, I never have.
Okay, it's absolutely amazing. And
I've heard it's really good.
it's a kids
And weird.
It's very weird, and it's definitely a kids movie, but a very, very dark kids movie. And it wrestles with the themes of racism, the dangers of capitalism and classism, as well as any movie out there. It's absolutely worth watching.
Yeah,
So,
well,
right.
it's not kosher, so I'm unable, as you know. But,
So
I'll have a goy watch it for me.
Yeah, exactly. So somehow this 70-year-old kids movie director convinced a studio to give him millions of dollars to drive souped-up cars around the Namibian desert with no script to revisit a franchise that had been left in the dust 30 years prior. And thank goodness he did, because damn.
Mm-hmm.
The actual filming of this movie is a story for a different day. Let's just focus on the plot and the religious world building. So in some distant, post-apocalyptic, or irradiated, drought-ridden future, a tyrant named Immortan Joe has built a cult of personality / dictatorship based on his control of water. Immortan Joe, by the way, is quite literally what Donald Trump will become if he wins a second term.
Yes. That is terrifyingly true.
It's totally true.
Yeah, the images of him wearing a mask for the first time that are out this past couple days, it might as well be the Immortan Joe thing.
Yeah.
Someone Photoshop that mask onto Donald Trump, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Send it to us.
So Immortan Joe rules over a city set up upon several mesas called the Citadel. The society of the Citadel is highly classist. There are the peasants who dwell on the desert floor, presumably doing the manual labor and suffering from constant thirst and hunger. There is a highly structured warrior class, which is where most of the religious themes are centered. And lastly, there is a small aristocracy, which consists mostly of Immortan Joe, his family and acolytes, and his sexual slaves he uses for breeding purposes. There are two other settlements in the story, Gastown, which refines fuel to oil to fuel their vehicles, and the Bullet Farm, which manufactures bullets to fuel their war weapons. Together with the Citadel, these three proto-states rule the wasteland in a kind of tripolar alliance.
Just like Nevada.
Exactly. The plot centers around a high-ranking member of the warrior class, Imperator Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, who has decided to help the 5 current sex slaves of Immortan Joe escape and try to get them to a far-off, fertile land called the Green Place of Many Mothers. In order to do this, she has to hide them in her war rig and battle her way through hostile territory and Immortan Joe's pursuing army, all of this with only one arm. Oh, and there's this guy named Max who's also in the story for some reason, played by Tom Hardy.
Yeah, that was the part that always confused me. We had this awesome group of badass women led by the badassest of them, and also a guy.
Yeah, he's just kind of... Max...
It's post-apocalyptic mansplaining, Dan. It's never...
Right.
It is one of the only things that will survive nuclear war.
Although it does have the distinct, the honor, the prestige of being the most taciturn, quiet mansplainer of all time.
He was
Truly.
very much supporting cast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the titular character, Max, is a wanderer that is captured by the war boys because his blood is not diseased like theirs, and he can be used as a blood donor for sick and dying war boys. He manages eventually to escape this captivity and teams up with Furiosa. The rest of the movie is one enormous chase scene. We don't learn much about the religion of the underclass, except that Immortan Joe holds himself up as their deity and holds power over them with highly ritualized releases of water. His words before releasing a small amount of water to the masses gives a glimpse into the theology he has built. Quote, "I am your redeemer. It is by my hand that you will rise from the ashes of this world." So we know what he thinks of himself.
Classic. That's just classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also don't learn a lot about the religion of the aristocracy. They don't seem to be under the spell of the warrior class's religion. While that religion is highly ritualized and structured, at one point in the plot when things are going bad, one of the escaping sex slaves, the Dag, is spinning through several different types of incantation and prayer. When asked who she's praying to, she responds, "Whoever's listening." Now we get to the religion of the war boys. The war boys themselves are all male and apparently taken from the underclass as children. Because they come from the underclass, most are diseased and suffering from various cancers and tumors. As such, they shave their heads, paint their bodies white, and wear skeletal makeup. Their religion is big into ritual branding and scarring. Most of them are covered in self-inflicted scars. We never do find out if these scars are a form of punishment, a sign of rank or piety, or the results of some kind of tat beer-like self-flagellation ritual, but it's great world building. They are given more to eat and drink than the underclass, so they can engage in warfare, so Immortan Joe has invented a death-worshipping religion to keep them in check. This religion treats their vehicles as sacred. At one point, as the chase is beginning, war boys can be seen removing steering wheels from an altar, and one of them, Slit, interlinks his fingers in prayer and says, quote, "By my deeds I honor you, V8," and takes his steering wheel. It's so goddamn cool.
He probably doesn't mean the vegetable juice.
No.
Yeah.
Given that most of them are doomed to die of disease, they want nothing more than to die gloriously in battle. We are given several examples of this. Most notably, when a severely injured war boy leaps to his death to blow up an enemy vehicle. If you haven't seen this scene yet, pull it up or look up the definition of the word epic. He first sprays silver paint on his face, which is effectively his death mask, and then demands that the other war boys present witness his act of bravery. When he is blown to bits, his fellow war boys are in a state of near ecstasy that he has managed to achieve a glorious death.
Yeah.
Purity for this religion is symbolized not by white, but by silver. Several times when describing acts of bravery, war boys can be heard saying they were so shiny, so chrome. This also explains the war paint. They do believe in an afterlife, where if they die worthy, they will drive their sanctified vehicles with Immortan Joe forever on the roads of Valhalla. Another common incantation by the war boys is, quote, "I live, I die, I live again." So clearly Joe has mixed in parts of Shia Islam, Norse mythology, and Native American warrior cults to create this religion. And although one of the war boys, Nux, does lose his faith, the religion seems to be working pretty well in fanaticizing the rest of them. There are more questions than answers, but for a made-up religion, and given the fact that we are only getting a glimpse of it, it's pretty convincing. It seems real enough, especially as reflected in its adherents, and it feels like there's so much more to it than what we get to see. And that's what makes this film so engrossing. These guys are part of some futuristic religions, but don't worry about it. That's not what the film is about. Now let's go blow something up. At one point, they team up with the remaining women of the now desolate green place, and we get the tiniest hint at their religion, mostly a small gesture when one of them dies, as though they are catching a piece of their departing soul. It's not much, but it paints a little bit of background, and it's wonderful. So that would be it. Miller effectively created a background religion that gives his insane movie some surprising grounding and realism. However, I stumbled across a couple articles and some YouTube videos discussing the religious and mythological overtones of the film itself. They're definitely there, but Miller has no interest in hitting you over the head with them, mostly because he's too busy blowing things up. In fact, I hardly noticed them on repeated viewings until it was brought to my attention, mostly because I was too busy watching things blow up. A lot of this comes from a YouTuber named Logos Made Flesh. So he postulates that Max is clearly a father god figure whose blood has the power to save and redeem. His blood is literally used to keep Nux alive long enough to redeem himself through his sacrifice and to save Furiosa's life in the final act. Furiosa herself is obviously a mother goddess whose sole purpose is to protect fertility and life itself. She tries to bring the captive women to the green place, obviously an Eden-like garden, only to find that it too has been destroyed by the fall of man. So now reunited with mankind in the form of Max and Nux, they charge back to the Citadel to smash the patriarchy that has caused all of this. Nux becomes the born-again son of Max and Furiosa. For the first act, he's actually tied to Max with an umbilical cord.
Right.
He sees Immortan Joe fail and comes to see the justice of Furiosa's cause, and then he martyrs himself, not for glory, but for the lives of his friends by sealing off the Canyon Pass. During the battle, Furiosa receives a mortal wound, so Max uses his blood to save her and a bone-handled knife to relieve the pressure of a collapsing lung. He does this by penetrating her side. Their symbolic union is sanctified by blood and consummated by the knife. So, and finally...
And with that guy and you have given the plot of this way more thought than the filmmakers ever did.
I don't know. Miller worked on this for, I think, 30 years.
He's been forever and ever.
Yeah.
And finally, there's Immortan Joe, clearly not only a villain, but death and Satan himself. His mask is the mouth of a lion, And like the beast in Revelation, he's trying to consume through captivity the newborns of his sexual slaves. Furiosa finally defeats him by tearing that mask and the rest of his face clean off. So I guess the point of all this is there doesn't have to be a point. It's my birthday. But also, Miller is a genius. He's made perhaps the best action movie of all time and stuffed it full of feminist and anti-authoritarian themes and managed to layer in a damning critique of religion to boot. Perhaps one lesson we can learn from this: it turns out that it's not that hard to invent a religion after all.
No,
Do you hear that, Moses, Paul, Muhammad, Joseph, and Elron? It turns out you're not so smart. A kids' movie director invented a religion at least as compelling as yours, as nothing more than background to a series of explosions.
Yeah.
And to all you would-be cult leaders of the future, pump the brakes on the perception of your own intelligence. And if you're going to invent a religion, would it kill you to toss in a car chase?
Fair enough.
So there you go.
That's
if you haven't seen the movie, please see the movie. If you don't like it, I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, don't at anybody. It's his birthday.
That's really fascinating. I wonder. It's too bad Joseph Campbell's not alive to kind of take a turn at it as well. As he deconstructed Star Wars in the same way. But
yeah,
and something that is really wonderful in a film of that complexity is the lack of over-explaining.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't.
Right.
You don't have to know everything. You don't
Right.
have to know what that altar was about and what V8, how that came to be, and what their prayers are, and you just know it's there, and it's one of their motivations. It's one of their driving forces, and why they're so willing to martyr themselves, with such gusto.
Yeah, and
Right.
it just paints a background, behind all of the action that makes it, in spite of how ridiculous it is, and it's ridiculous. Fuel is a scarce resource, and they are all driving monster cars welded onto other monster cars.
Uh-huh.
Right.
But it somehow has a streak of realism because of this that's kind of fun.
Although I feel like we should do a public service announcement and say, please don't, no matter how cool it looks in the movie, don't paint your face chrome with spray paint. It's probably not good for you.
Well, agree to disagree. I actually bought the coffee table book of the conceptual art for Fury Road.
Oh wow!
It's magnificent, and what's crazy is some of the illustrations are dated like 1994.
Yeah,
Right. That's how long Miller's been trying to get this thing going. And
well, apparently he came very close to this thing being greenlit, and things were all moving in the right direction when 9/11 happened.
That's right.
Oh,
that's right.
and-
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, going to even though Namibia is 2,000 miles away from any the countries involved in 9/11, it just wasn't, the money wasn't there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So there you go, a fake religion from a great movie. Yeah.
But it was worth the wait. A great film. Everybody enjoy. Happy birthday, Doug. May you arrive in Valhalla, shiny chrome,
Yes.
and all
Thank
that
you.
stuff. I can't remember exactly the rest. So, all right. Well, with that, let's hit the gas.
Moving on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's surprisingly good show.
Oh, well, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a favorite movie that you want Doug to watch, send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if your feet are too big, you can leave us a voicemail about it at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter with my feet at HowToHeretic.
And thanks to our incredible, awesome patrons, as always.
And thanks to Cody Layton, whose feet are just right for editing the show.
And thanks to all of you, friends, for tuning in. We sure appreciate you.
Bye, friends.
Bye.